Howdy y'all, Joe Hills here, recording as I always do in Nashville, Tennessee. And today on the HermitCraft server, it is the beginning of 2026. We have started laying out our queue room here. This is where people who are going to be part of the live audience would queue up in the air conditioning so that the whole theater doesn't smell terrible. And then they would be escorted to their seats through here, past our news set. Our news set, we actually have set up for the time zones that we are greeting people with Happy New Year's messages for here on my HermitCraft New Year's Eve stream. We started with Sydney and Melbourne, and it's almost time for New Year's in Bangladesh. In fact, how close are we to that? 6 minutes away from New Year's in Bangladesh as I'm recording this. And I wanted to take a moment and appreciate Cub Fan. Cub Fan has sent me a questionnaire that I'm going to head up to my office to fill out. He wants each hermit, well, anybody who wants to participate, is going to go ahead and fill out a questionnaire with what they predict will happen in 2026. And then we can revisit those when 2026 ends. So, kind of taking the back door into my office here. This room is not fully decorated or bewalled yet, but it does have some furnishings, and it does overlook the theater pretty well. So I imagine sitting out here on the balcony and writing. Let's go ahead and get some of that writing done. So Cub's first question was, will fletching table functionality be added? Yes, and that functionality will be shrinking spears to make tiny arrows. Next problem. His next question was, will Minecraft have an end-themed update or expand the inventory? The second question, will Minecraft have an end theme update or expand the inventory? Yes, cargo pants made from shulker shells. The third question, Cub Fan asked, will we see 4 drops or updates this year? I expect 10, including hot fixes. Will any existing experimental changes, minecarts, redstone, or villagers make it into a drop and update? Combat update, Cub baby! 12 seconds until Bangladeshi New Year, so we're going to take a break from getting to number 5 here to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year, Bangladesh! We've got 15 minutes until Nepal's New Year, so I'm going to keep working on this questionnaire, but we might actually greet a couple of 2026s just while I'm working on this. Cub's fifth question, will Minecraft add a new ore? No, but they will add new ands and buts. Number 6, how many new mobs will be added in drops and updates, excluding variants, plus or minus 2 allowed? I don't have a good gut feeling about this. I am just going to say 5, 1 for each Power Ranger, excluding Tommy. You know what? No, let's change that to 6. I think Tommy counts. 7. How many new blocks will be added in drops and updates, excluding variants? I'm going to say a baker's dozen, because I had some good sourdough the other day, or 13. So I'm just going with my gut and going what I know. I don't know a lot about blocks, but I do know about bread. Will we see a movie trailer from Minecraft Movie 2 this year? Release date is July 23rd, 2027. Yes. Definitely, at least a teaser. How many new structures will Minecraft add in drops and updates, plus or minus 2 allowed? You know, structures could be big or small. They could add a bunch of different types of wells. And he doesn't say that their variants are excluded or whatever. I'm going to go with 2 dozen. I'm going to go with 2 dozen on this. Because I think there will be at least one update where they add a bunch of small structures. Alrighty, so we are through the first 9 questions, the Minecraft questions. Now we're into the HermitCraft questions. How many games will be playable on HermitCraft? I am going to guess by the end of this year, 18. 18 games. Decked Out is going to be a big one, but there's going to be some small ones too. I think 18 feels reasonable. 21 wouldn't be right out. 22 feels a bit high, so I'm going to say 18. Number 11. Will a hermit's base burn down? Yes. Number 12, who will have the most deaths on the server? I am going to guess that at some point, somebody's going to need a bunch of player heads, and it's either going to be Zombie, Cleo, or Tango. I'm going to guess Tango. Who will have the most player kills on the server? That's a hard one. I am going to guess Scar. I don't know if it's going to count all of the arson. Will a hermit's base burn down? I'm also adding by Scar here as an extra detail. Tango needing heads and Scar by fire. No, we'll just say Scar for 13. So we're into 14 now. We're making good time. We've only got 8 minutes and 39 seconds until New Year's in Nepal. How many hermits will play Hightail in a video or a stream? I think my guess is 15. That's maybe a bad guess, but I feel like 15 seems reasonable. How many hermits will attend TwitchCon, both EU and USA? Oh boy, I don't know. Let's assume each hermit only counts once. I'm going to say 12. And 16. How many Minecraft events will all hermits win? MCC, Block Wars, Rivals, etc. Boy, I'm gonna say, I feel like there's a lot of these. Like Isuma winning something or Cub winning something on their own might count. Let's say 12 again. And I'm gonna change these to written out. So we're going to take this book and we are going to sign it. Enter book title, Predict 2026 by JoeHillsTSD. We're going to go ahead and clone that here, like so. Is that not how you clone books? Okay, so we're going to clone Predict 2026. And we're going to put the original in there for safekeeping. Since Cub doesn't seem to be home, we're going to leave this book in the item frame here and be on our way before the sun can set. Time skip. Well, that was a real doozy of a time skip. It was December 31st. Now it is January 4th. The Epiphany is upon us tomorrow. The 12 days of Christmas are drawing to a close. And so we begin to strike our set from the Christmas event. We also do need to clean up these clocks we had set to the New Year's times and dates. And we are going to keep some of the clocks on the wall, but not this many. This is silly. It's excessive, is what it is. Gratuitous numbers of clocks? No. No, we are here for exactly the precise degree of humor required to get the joke across. You know, I feel like having things calibrated properly is important. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to y'all today as we begin this new year, 2026. I wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about New Year's resolutions. And, you know, I was thinking some New Year's resolutions are just intuitively better than others to me. Like, I'll hear a New Year's resolution somebody pitches, I'll be like, yeah, that's pretty good, or, ugh, that's not pretty good. Boy, what was that guy thinking? And, you know, that got me thinking, maybe we need some sort of system for evaluating New Year's resolutions, you know? Like, in business, there's this concept of SMART goals that was popularized by the show Get Smart, in which Maxwell Smart's partner, 99, would always set goals that were specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-related. I think that SMART goals are fine if you're running a spy organization in the 1960s, but this is the modern era, and we're making personal decisions about our lives, about how we want to spend the next year. And so do not fear, Joe Hills is here. I have a system that is going to be more applicable to your needs for your New Year's resolutions than the SMART system. Are your New Year's resolutions goals? Goals. Now, I think one of the most important things about a New Year's resolution is that it should be graceful. When you're succeeding or failing at it, you should be benefiting because of the effort you're putting in, regardless of the results, right? So, if your goal is like, I am going to get in the top third of the Turkey Trot next November. It's a 5K race. I'm going to be finishing the top third. And I'm going to train 5 days a week running to get to that point. Even if you don't actually finish in the top third, just spending 5 days a week practicing will be good for your health. You'll get outside. Maybe you'll make friends that you run with. You know, it's a goal that fails or succeeds gracefully. If you do better than the top third, like maybe you get the top fifth, or which I mean technically is still within the top third. It's a subset, but I mean that's okay. Now the O does not stand for okay though. It stands for obvious. Your New Year's resolution needs to have an elevator pitch. You know, if it's kind of one of those things where you're like, you know, I feel like sometimes me and my friends, we try to connect to each other through shared musical experiences, and I'm lacking in that connection. It feels like sometimes I'm an electrical plug in a foreign country, and I know that that outlet exists, but I worry that it's not for me. That's not a good pitch. You need to come in and be like, man, I want to be better at singing karaoke with my friends, so I'm going to pick a different song every month to practice. That's an obvious goal. Yeah, anybody at work is going to be like, oh, hey, you know, what is your New Year's resolution? I'm going to practice karaoke so I can be more confident when I go out with my friends. And if they're like, hey, well, maybe we'll hear some of that at work. It's like, I don't know. If the boss yells out for a good holiday party next Christmas, maybe we will. But you got 12 months. So, you know, you're set on that, okay? A, autonomous, okay? You should have your goal be something that you can do on your own. If it's dependent on like, yeah, me and my friend are going to go weightlift every Wednesday, but your friend is the one with the car and you can't get there otherwise, maybe you need to have a goal that doesn't depend on that friend. It could be, I'm going to do an intense workout every Wednesday. The Wednesdays where your friend has the car and takes you weightlifting, cool, that counts. But it's not like, oh, I'm going to give up on my goal because, you know, my friend is busy, you know, oh, it turned out the car was stolen by his uncle from the Bahamas. And I don't know, you know, these things get out of hand a little bit. But you know what never gets out of hand is loving. Actually, loving constantly gets out of hand. I hate it when streamers use this word lightly. When people are like, oh my God, I love all of you so much. You're the ones that let me live in this perfectly white apartment with decorations that look like they're out of a museum. And all of my children are perfect and all of my hairs are perfect and everything's the best. And I love life and I love you. I hate that. I don't want any part of that here. But that's not because I don't value love. It's because I value love, that I don't want to see it diminished in that way. I think your resolution should be about loving yourself or loving others in some way. If you're trying to get in shape so you can live longer and have a healthier life with your friends and, you know, be able to go hiking or enjoy the outdoors more with them, that is a form of loving. If your resolution is, I'm going to try and steal 5 cars a month so that I can pay off my dad's gambling debts, I appreciate that you're trying to help your dad, but you gotta kind of think about the other people involved, right? And also, if your goal is like, hey, you know, I want to be healthier so I can spend time with my friends in ways that we all enjoy, that can be a loving thing. If you're like, I'm gonna work myself to death at the gym and never eat anything I like because I hate myself, you gotta look at fixing that hating yourself thing. Find a way to do that. I'm not a therapist, but like, that's not healthy, you know? Don't come into any of this from a point of like hating. Not at all. Okay. And then finally, the S is scope. You need to scope this goal so that it is actually like realistically going to fit in the amount of time that you can dedicate to it. You know, if I said, I'm going to become a virtuoso violinist, that's going to require purchasing a violin, practicing 8 hours a day for 5 years. There's probably 15, 25. Okay, you can't fit a New Year's resolution for 1 year into 25 years. And I can't fit a violin into my, you know, what do you call that, bank account. That is way out of scope. The scope of a New Year's resolution should be, what can I reasonably do this year? And you might say, Joe, that reasonable sounds a lot like the R in smart. If I was here to yank you guys around, I could have write, and your goal needs to be smart. But I'm not that guy. I am not, and we are not doing that. We're going to make sure that this has a solid scope. Anyway, let's talk about a few of my goals while we continue to break down the set out here, because there is work to be done. Okay, a few of my goals this year actually do include that karaoke thing. I kind of started with a loose New Year's resolution for myself, which was I want to be a better voice actor. But I felt like that's a starting point. In the same way, I want to be healthier is a starting point. A starting point in and of itself isn't a resolution, though. A resolution needs to have enough intention and specificity around it that you can actually make it happen in that year in a way that makes sense, right? So if I want to be a better voice actor, what does that mean? Okay, I need to find ways to practice voice acting. And how do you practice voice acting? Well, there's cold reading, where you just read random scripts put in front of you last minute. Kind of like sight reading for music, right? Where you're just, oh, I've never seen this before, let's go. But then there's also warm reading, where you're prepping by reading a story or something like that in advance, taking notes on the different voices, trying stuff out. And I don't really do a lot of that right now. Even my Christmas Carol that I practice once a year, that's not really warm, that's cold. I feel like I'm already doing cold readings with my Hades streams. I need to find something that I can read more warmly, and identifying that is going to be part of my process over the next month. The other thing that people recommend for getting better at voice acting is that it helps your vocal range if you practice singing. And that karaoke example from before, that's real. I actually am thinking I'm going to pick one song every month to add to my karaoke repertoire. Right now, I don't have a great karaoke repertoire. I can do We Didn't Start the Fire by Billy Joel, but in most cases, that is not actually a good choice for karaoke. I can do Piano Man, that's okay. But most Billy Joel songs aren't really high energy enough to be what I would consider a good karaoke song. And as I was trying to figure out what is a good New Year's resolution, I also started making a list of what is or is not a good karaoke song. My spectacular spouse, Badger Spanner, mentioned attempting to perform My Sharona once, not really taken into account that My Sharona has a 4-minute instrumental bit in the middle of it. You would think if a karaoke place can put all the effort into putting a bunch of text on the screen, they could also put the effort into having a version of My Sharona that doesn't have a 4-minute instrumental interlude, but no. So any songs that I pick should have almost no instrumental intro or outro. You know, a few seconds is fine, but like a minute and a half, that's too much. Another thing, I know most of the people that I'm gonna sing karaoke with, and I want to make sure that the 12 songs in my repertoire, that at least, let's say, half of them are songs that other people, not just people in general, but specific people that I'm likely to sing with, would want to join me on. They don't have to be duets, but just songs where it's like, oh, this is a band that I like, but it's also this particular friend's favorite band. Or this is from that particular friend's favorite movie. If the point of this is to, you know, pick things that wouldn't necessarily be my first 12 choices otherwise, because my first 12 choices for karaoke right now are all Billy Joel, and we have proven that that is not a good system. Me just picking my favorite songs has thus far not resulted in a good karaoke repertoire. I haven't paid attention to the instrumental length, haven't paid attention to whether the song's by Billy Joel or not. It's a whole thing. So if I'm like, oh man, I know my pal Logan loves Walk Hard, what would be the most fun song from Walk Hard to do in karaoke? You know, my spectacular spouse Badger and another friend of mine also both love the musical group Ghost. Okay, a lot of Ghost songs are kind of slow, but maybe they got one or two that would be a really good choice for karaoke in particular. So, let's go and listen to some Ghost, and then I can talk to Badger about one of their favorite bands, too. So this is that G in graceful in goals, is even if I don't end up finding a great Ghost song, just the act of trying to find a great Ghost song will give me some fun stuff to talk to my spouse about. And Badger loves a bunch of bands, so even if I don't go with that one, I'll find something, and we can talk about that too. So, you know, I also want to pick things from different eras. Like, you know, if all of my songs were from the 1970s, and I'm at a convention, and one of the people we're with, you know, hears a song from the 70s and goes, ugh, I can't stand from music from the 70s. My father was killed by a, you know, automobile playing music from the 70s. You know, then okay, Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, not a good choice. I probably could sing everything in the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack now. Let's see. Let me just try one off the cuff. Hey there, Mr. Blue, something sunshine, da-da-do. ELO is musical too, do-do-do. Okay, yeah, this is why we need to practice. But, core concept, you know, I want to have things from a variety of genres, a variety of ages. So, picking 12 different songs, having a broad repertoire, feels like a fun challenge for me musically. And you know what? Even if I end up not being actually very good at singing those songs, once again, this fails gracefully because I got to have fun listening to a bunch of different music and, you know, thinking about the process. Like, this is a goal that is, or this is a resolution that is also a goal. And not an own goal in the football sense, where it's like, boy, I really shouldn't have kicked this ball past my own goalie into my own net because now everyone's mad at me. Yeah. That's the thing, is if you do this from a loving place, hopefully everyone won't be mad at you. You know, that also helps. Okay, so I don't think we can consolidate too much of this stuff in here, but we can consolidate some of it. And we can continue breaking down this set here. But yeah, you know, a few other goals I was talking with my kid about was, you know, as a thing for the family, having more crafting time. And so it's like, okay, well, we probably would do more crafts if the dining room table wasn't always, like, covered with random stuff for projects and things. So what if, you know, we said, okay, 2 nights a week we're going to do family crafts after dinner, but the nights before each of those 2 nights, we're going to make sure that there's nothing on the dining room table going into the next day. So the resolution is we're going to do crafts, but we're going to enable doing crafts by making sure the night before that we have the space to do them. Because if it was easy for us to have a family craft night twice a week right now, we would already be doing it. You know, the goal of a resolution is to change something a lot of times, and change requires intentionality that wasn't already there, right? Like, if it was going to happen on its own, it probably already would have happened. So let's figure out what would it take to make it happen, you know? And, ooh, we can take these dark oak shelves and go put those back here on our news set. This is all coming together pretty well. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. I guess I could do some TV themes. Here comes Speed Racer. He's a demon on wheels. Oh, that is something, too. A lot of my friends like doing songs in Japanese. And, like, they do, like, anime theme songs and stuff. So it might be helpful if I found at least one song in Japanese. And maybe it's the original Speed Racer theme, because even though not everybody knows the words to it in Japanese, it's karaoke. The words would be on the screen, and, you know, everybody already knows the melody. That's an easy enough song to sing along. My parents used to talk about how when they were 5 and 6, back then they didn't call it anime, it was called Japanimation. But they were like, Speed Racer was the first Japanimation them and their friends had ever seen, back in, like, the mid-60s, 1960s, not 2060s. And, you know, how they used to pretend on the school bus that the school bus was the powerful Mach 5 and all the kids would sing the theme song together. And if a bunch of first graders in the 1960s can figure that out, then me and a bunch of 40-year-old-ish grown adults could probably do the same. But yeah, so let's see. We have talked about voice acting as a resolution. We've talked about family craft time as a resolution. The one that we haven't actually gotten to, and this is something that ties into this whole studio that I'm building, is I want to practice writing jokes again. I used to write a lot of jokes just kind of throughout the day. Back when I had a day job, you know, I would see things in the news or coworkers would say things, and I would have ideas for funny jokes, and I'd write them and post them on Twitter, you know? And now that I am, you know, working from home and not, like, in the workplace in the same way, and also now that Twitter's kind of dead, I kind of fell out of the habit of all that. You know, I'm just not writing jokes as much. And I'm still making jokes. I'm cracking jokes. I'm riffing on stuff in HermitCraft. But I'm not preparing things as much. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to build this TV studio, was to get better at intentionally writing some jokes here and there. So we're going to have a proper writer's room up there. You can see the balcony. And there's going to be a board for me to put jokes in. And we're going to have a talk show set over there where I can deliver monologues. We're going to have the parody news desk where I can do funny news. And, you know, so this is one where it's like I'm going to get better at writing jokes by building an environment where everything is conducive to that. And I think I'm going to try and set maybe 15 minutes aside on my morning streams and just sit in the writer's room and be like, okay, here's a few things I saw in the news today, or here's a few things I've been thinking about. Let's write a few jokes and post them on Blue Sky, and then maybe incorporate them into a video later. And, you know, some of them might be good, some of them might not be, but the fact that I'm just getting back in the practice of writing those jokes. You know, I don't have a goal here that, like, the resolution isn't, I'm gonna be a writer for Stephen Colbert, because he might not even have a job in a year. The resolution is I'm going to spend 15 minutes every day acting like I'm a writer for Stephen Colbert. Except instead of sending the jokes to Colbert to read, they'll be for me, you know? So we'll have our weekend update desk for news-related stuff. We'll have our monologue area and talk show thing for interviews. We've got the writer's room. This is all supporting kind of just me trying to be a better entertainer. A better creative person and a more confident creative person. And, you know, I think a lot of my viewers appreciate what I'm doing already. That's why you're here. But, so I don't want you guys to think that I'm beating myself up because I don't think I'm good at stuff. But what I think is I have a very high ceiling for a lot of my comedy and writing skills. But I also don't have a very high floor. I'm not professionally consistent at a level I want to be. And so most of my goals are going to somehow help me get more consistent at practicing skills that I already can do great at when I'm at my peak, but I need to make sure that even when I'm at a trough, you know, I'm delivering a certain level of excellence that would be what I would consider professional. So, yeah, we've got this whole set cleared from Christmas, and we are ready to move on. I guess I need to do some inventory management with some chests and stuff, but we can do that in the time skip. So why don't I do that now? Time skip! With amethyst in hand, we ride across the land to answer the call of Gemini Tay, who has a big bridge somewhere up this way, which supposedly will be collecting materials for the Nether Hub project. I don't know what that is. I'm going to stay away before it kills me. Okay, here's Gem's bridge, I think. We need to find the chests on the bridge that correspond to the things we want. We're going to leave our horse in the nice little stable here that's been provided. Okay. You stay there, bud. Behave. And let's see what we've got here. End rods, breeze rods, clear or magenta glass, stone, cobbled deep slate, gray terracotta, warped hyphae, amethyst blocks. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and handle the amethyst blocks. Hopefully this is enough. Hey, that was precisely enough. Great. And then let's grab the bone blocks next. We can go ahead and drop in bone blocks, bone meal, or magenta dye. It looks like all the magenta dye that was going to be the net result of the bone blocks has been delivered. So we can put the bone blocks back, and we can take the cobbled deep slate and drop that in over here. Okay, that is only a single row out of, let's say, 18. 1/18 of the cobbled deep slate necessary, but 100% of the amethyst blocks have been dropped off. So hopefully that helps Gem get the nether project moving along. Why don't we go see how the progress is going by zipping in there now with our horse pal to the nether. Yep, still room for improvement. We need to get a horse ladder in there because right now the horse can't get up to the roof. But it's a great start. It is a fantastic start. When it comes to pits in the nether with an open skylighty thing, that's a pretty good open skylighty thing. Time skip. That may have been a large hole up in the roof of the nether there, but one hole we didn't have in this episode was a mid-roll ad break. That's thanks to Patreon patron Salem. In lieu of that mid-roll ad, I'm here in the writing room, so I can present to you a poetry prompt of my own devising. Don't worry, you don't have to write your poem up on these boards. You can do it in the YouTube comments section below. But anyway, the poetry prompt for today is Another Year. This episode wasn't only mid-roll ad-free, though. It was also pre-roll ad-free, thanks to Patreon patron Mr. Lance. Thanks, Mr. Lance. All right, folks, we had a lot of fun today. There is so much more work to be done around the studio, making this space, turning it from a place that I can write ideas for jokes into actually hashing out ideas, presenting them on stage. Hopefully we can get to that soon, as well as start building sets for our Alethi development project. We have a huge year coming up on HermitCraft 2026. Here we go. Until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring.